The Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast is made possible in part by a generous gift from Set Apart to Serve, the church work recruitment initiative of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Many church workers always knew they wanted to serve in Christ's church, but many pastors, teachers, and other full-time church workers left careers to pursue this life of service. If you or a friend have been praying and thinking about a second career as a church worker, the Set Apart to Serve team wants to help. Visit kfuo.org/SAS to learn more. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
And I'm Rachel.
I'm so excited because I have food in the studio that I made this morning. I will tell that story later. It is an Iron Ladle challenge. This had so many different layers to it. Erin went all out on this one. I have been looking forward to this episode for several weeks, months, weeks. Erin, what are we doing today?
Today, we are discussing the Lutheran Ladies Lounge best bar. What is the most Lutheran of all the bars out there?
Could we clarify just real quickly here? Because when I mentioned to my father-in-law, who's staying with us right now, that we were looking for the best bars, he said, I've been in one or two of those.
That's what I thought too when Erin first mentioned that we were going to do bars.
Yes, you are not the only one had this starting point. So I don't know, maybe I need to say it with like a heavier Midwestern accent. This is the bar. We're talking about that special dessert that shows up at the potluck. Now, beyond that, beyond the title of bar, there does seem to be, well, we'll get right into it. One of the initial controversies that plague this competition throughout is what truly constitutes a bar.
Yeah.
There is not a unanimous agreement on this topic. And I didn't try and set down rules as to what qualified as a bar when I launched this experience. Instead, I was gonna just leave it to the masses to determine what a bar is. Now, the controversy seems to be primarily around, some feel strongly that a bar should be finger food, no utensil required.
Okay.
I can see that.
And others seem to feel that a bar is more of the shape, in that is a flat dessert item that is cut into typically a rectangle or square and has a firmly supported crust.
Okay.
But not necessarily, maybe you do actually have to use a fork to eat it. And so this reared its head because we'll jump right into, we're going to circle back to that one. We're going to let that one come as we go along.
These definitions are really thorny because, as you were describing, a finger food that is cut in rectangles, I was thinking, well, is a brownie a bar?
Oh.
But no, I've never thought of brownies or blondies as bars, even though they fit this definition.
As one of the bars for, as a contender. So indeed, you would think a brownie would, but everyone seems clear that a brownie is its own thing. It's not a bar.
And the other question I have is, does a bar need to be baked? Like you said, it had to have a crust, but if you had like a bar, like a crust with like Jell-O on top of it, it could be a rectangular flat finger food. But would it be a bar if it's not? So I don't know.
Special K bars are bars and you don't bake those.
I've never made
those.
There you go. But I need to. I really need to expand my bar game. As you guys will find out, I have one go-to bar, like just one. So I'm really looking forward to going back through and learning some new bar magic.
Bar magic.
This is excellent. So I decided that when we were going to tackle this, it's sort of been on my mind for a while to how could we do another big, where we're whittling it down to the best of with a lot of input. And I decided that what I really wanted to try and accomplish was a tournament.
Yes.
A tournament of the bars. And so
Excellent.
This was amazing. I'm so glad you did it this way. It was so fun.
Yeah. I did initially. So I solicited for nominations, and this was a free for all. Anyone could nominate any bar they wanted. And while initially I had it, I think I probably could have even pulled off another layer of the bracket, but I decided that's just too many. We don't need to spend that much time on the bars. So I narrowed it down to, okay, hang on. I gotta pull up my note.
You had a lot of submissions
There
for that.
were a lot of submissions.
And I want to talk about a few of the controversial ones too. But let's go through them first. Because there are some strong opinions about a few of these.
There really are. So I decided that we would start. I was going to limit it to the top 8 contenders. And the way I selected it and the way I calculated the top 8 was at a set time. I started counting the nominations and the reacts and comments and such, and assigned a weight to the various submissions. There were far more than 8 bars that were submitted as nominations.
This was maximum science.
Yeah.
I really did try to, make this as objective, letting the voice of the ladies speak and be heard. So
Love it.
what we came down to, and what I did have to do, was combine certain ones that were clearly, one in particular was clearly a chameleon bar known by many names. I don't know. It's the underworld spy of the bars that has, many names. Many names. Anywhere you go, you've got a different name. This is the 7-layer bar, also known as Hello Dollies, also known as Magic Cookie Bars. And in my family, I don't know if we made this name up ourselves or if we got it somewhere, but my family's always known it as Santa Snacks, because it features as a Christmas bar. And then another person in the course of the contest said that her family knows them as Chip Yummies, because that one I think is definitely a personal name. That's more of a personal nickname, pet name, if you will.
I love that you have a pet name for a dessert bar.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So once it became clear that these were all the same bar, I combined their nominations as opposed to having them be separate.
Okay.
The more controversial one that I chose to combine and Sarah, I think you're going to have some opinions on this. So let's talk about it.
Yes.
Special K bars and Scotcheroos.
Yeah, that's a controversy right there.
It is. I mean, it seemed like some people were strongly of the opinion that these were not the same bar, and others were strongly of the opinion that they were the same thing.
Yes.
So I'm sure that I've had these, but they have not featured prominently in my lifetime. And so I don't have a strong opinion on which one of these is actually the true name. What can you tell us, Sarah? Because you were very familiar with this. You said you have strong memories of one of these, both of these. I don't know.
One of them.
Clear this up for us.
Yeah. So I know Special K bars going back far into my childhood. I feel like almost every time I was at my sister-in-law's house. Oh, I grew up in the Detroit area. So this is like a Michigan Midwestern thing. And I'll come back to that in a second with like geographical stuff. So I feel like almost every time I was at my sister-in-law's house, we would make Special K bars. And these are Special K, peanut butter, Karo syrup as the base, and then like smushing it down, and then melted chocolate, melted butterscotch chips for the top. And I also told her, I messaged my sister-in-law during this thing, and I was like, people don't like Special K bars. And she was like, what? That's crazy. So we still have strong opinions about this. And when I go visit her in a few weeks, I may be making Special K bars just to like settle this a little bit. But so I grew up with Special K bars. I don't know that I had even heard of Scotcheroos until very recently. And I didn't realize that they were like the same thing / cousin / geographical. I don't know. I was trying to figure out if there was a geographical difference between Special K and Scotcheroo. Like if in part of the country it actually is the same thing and people just call it something different, or if it actually is two different things. I think that what it seems is that there's the strongest opinion, or maybe the most logical thing, is that Special K is made with Special K. Scotcheroos are the same thing except made with Rice Krispies. That's what, like, the biggest actual difference that I was finding is that is just a different cereal. And I think a lot of people who know Special K or who know Scotcheroos with the Rice Krispies don't actually know what Special K bars are. We were talking to one of our field workers at church last night, and because randomly we had Scotcheroos last night at our Wednesday night dinner at church, and I chuckled and I was like, "Oh, is that a Special K bar?" And he's like, "I don't know what that is." And I was like, "That's what you're eating, but with Special K." And he's like, "You mean like the breakfast food?" Yes. He's like, "But that doesn't have butterscotch." I was like, "Yes, it does." So I think there's a lot of just like people, it seems that people know one or the other, and I don't really know why. I want to do like a fully researched journal article.
I'm researching as you guys chat about this. It seems like if you Google either Special K or Scotcheroos, you are going to get a whole bunch, like a third of the links will have one or the other in parentheses. Okay. So Erin, I think you are justified here. But here the mystery thickens, because there is actually a Scotcheroos.net, which has an article on Scotcheroos versus Special K bars compared.
Wow.
However, when I click through, I get a 404 error message.
No!
The preview says Scotcheroos versus Special K bars compared. Scotcheroos are made with Rice Krispies, whereas Special K bars are made with Special K cereals. Recipe for Scotcheroos. But then right above this, Spend with Pennies, one of the recipe blogs that I've enjoyed in the past, has a Scotcheroos recipe made with Special K.
That's
really, I don't think you are being unreasonable to lump them together for the purposes of this scientific poll.
Yeah.
You're fine.
I think there were some people that were like, "Oh, you should have put both names on it because then we would have known," which maybe, I don't know. But
no, that would have just divided and muddied the data.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, because some people do think that Scotcheroos are only Rice Krispie and not special. Like, it is
you can make Scotcheroos with Rice Krispies. You cannot make Special K bars with Rice Krispies.
Right. It's like a square and a rectangle.
Right.
You can make Scotcheroos with either Rice Krispies or Special K, but you can only make Special K with Special K. So, I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
So,
You're right.
We got a Venn diagram here happening.
Yeah.
Maybe the Special K is the subset of the Scotcheroo kingdom.
Either way, you're fine to combine them for the poll.
It's fine. Yes. There's just people with opinions, and I'm one of them, so it's fine.
Now, okay, so Special K, Scotcheroos. I have absolutely had this bar before, but it's not one that I grew up with as a regular bar that my family would make. But I absolutely have had it at potlucks before and loved it.
It's one of my favorites. A lot of nostalgia there.
Yeah, definitely. So the 4 bars that got brought into the competition, they were the next tier down, if you will. They were still the top 8, but there was a distinct gap between the top 4 and everything else. So, for example, the 7-layer bar grouping, that I had 20 votes that I assigned to it. The next strongest contender was jam shortbread bars at 9 votes.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, not even half the number of votes. So the next grouping was then jam shortbread bars, peanut butter bars. Okay, Sarah, you got to help me how to pronounce this one. Is it Nanaimo? How do you say this?
Nanaimo, but I could be wrong.
Nanaimo.
And
okay,
that come up before in an episode. I was super excited to see them in the poll.
I know. we'll go with your pronunciation, Nanaimo bars, which honestly, those were, I think, the bar that puzzled the most people as to what it was.
I think that one is very geographic. Because it's Northwest United States and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you aren't in that or familiar with that geographic region, I think you just had no idea what it was. So.
Right. It had some strong, the people who know it, they love it.
Yes.
But it wasn't widely known.
Mm-hmm.
And then the chocolate revel bars were the last of the sort of second tier, the junior varsity group, if you will. The controversial addition was, of course, the strawberry pretzel dessert. Doesn't even have bars in the name.
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, I have.
Okay.
What is fascinating to me is in the nominations, it had a single nomination, but the people were so passionate about it. It was second overall in the votes for the initial nominations. Most things would show up multiple times, and I had to combine them, but not strawberry pretzel dessert. That showed up once and had 37 comments, votes, likes. Like it has a passionate following.
Can I share
I don't
something
understand.
Very hilarious and appropriate to this group?
Yes.
I went to search strawberry pretzel. I just typed in strawberry pretzel. And I could have my choice between dessert or what it is more commonly known as, apparently, strawberry pretzel salad.
Yes. This also came up with the people who were furious that it was being included as a bar because it can also be known as a salad. Wonderful. How can it possibly be a bar? Yeah.
There's actually a video that showed up like yesterday or the day before in the group from the Midwestern Mom on if you follow her reels on social media. She has a reel for this. It actually makes it. It's called a salad. It's so funny.
Yep.
Not a salad. We can call it a salad, but that doesn't make it.
No.
I feel like this one pushing the boundaries for a salad.
This is a dessert that likes to straddle boundaries. It blurs things. So this tries to move into the Jell-O salad area, but it's got a pretzel crust, and so that is absolutely antithetical of a Jell-O salad to have a pretzel crust. This is not a done thing, and yet it calls itself strawberry pretzel salad. It's trying to be a Jell-O salad, but it's not. It's trying to be a bar, but many would say it's not. It masquerades as many different things, but those who love it really love it a lot.
I'm going to just make the call. You heard it here first, folks. It is much closer to being a bar than a salad.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Much closer.
Absolutely.
So I agree. Yes. We should add it in our poll. Good call.
Yeah. Okay. So the bar that came in, it was the clear front runner. And there's no real surprise. It did eventually take the whole competition. And that is the lemon bar.
Yeah.
It came in so strong and it never stumbled. So the lemon bar was by far the strongest. So when I tried to set up this tournament, I paid close attention to my friend Joel Gilbert, who is the tennis coach at Lutheran South High School.
Oh, okay.
And so I wasn't necessarily thinking about the bar tournament. However, I remembered his directions when setting up a tournament. You are not supposed to pit the strongest against each other at the beginning. You need to set it up the opposite. You're supposed to set it up against the strongest and the weakest. And then let the strongest eventually face each other. But if you set them up with the strongest against each other from the beginning, then you lose an exciting player right away. There was some, we'll say mild critique offered perhaps of my choice of what I think you call it the tournament seeding, the seeding of the tournament.
Yeah.
Many felt that perhaps we should have taken more of an ingredient-based approach and put against fruit or chocolate against chocolate. But I was going with Lutheran South High School's tennis coaches tournament seeding approach. And that is by the numbers, the strongest against the weakest. And so that meant that we had lemon bars against chocolate rebel bars for the qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
We had strawberry pretzel dessert against Nanaimo.
Mm-hmm.
Special K against jam shortbread. And 7-layer bars against peanut butter bars.
Yep.
Now, in all cases, the obvious winner prevailed in the first round, except for one upset. And this was super exciting and unexpectedly. I have to think maybe it was an identity crisis or something. I don't know. It didn't seem to stop the 7-layer group, but for the Special K bars, aka Scotcheroos, which I went with Special K because that had more comments behind it. Anyway, jam shortbread bars prevailed.
Ooh.
Yeah, we had an upset. It was surprising. I was here for it. I love shortbread and I love jam. Those are two of my favorite things. So, I mean, I love Special K bars too, but still, in this sort of a contest, it doesn't help anyone to vote for both bars. That just, cancels your vote out. So I was team jam shortbread and I was thrilled when they won the qualifying round. That was very exciting. Yeah. Again, with the strong showing of the strawberry pretzel dessert, they had the strawberry pretzel dessert qualifier round had the most votes of any round in the entire thing.
That's amazing.
So again, the people who love those strawberry pretzel desserts, they come out, they turn out strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, strawberry pretzel dessert then had to face off against Queen Lemon. And they could not surpass.
Lemon bars are the best.
Oh, yeah. With the semifinals, indeed, lemon bars carried the day in the semifinal round. And then jam bars, I mean, they did have an impressive first showing, but they could not stand up against 7-layer bars. Now, this did mean that many people who were very concerned that chocolate was not winning, there was a lot of shock and dismay that in the qualifier rounds, 1, 2, 3 of the 4 qualifier rounds, actually all of the qualifier rounds featured a chocolate item, at least one chocolate item in that, and 3 of the chocolates fell in the initial qualifier. So we only had 7-layer bars that survived. They were the only chocolate representation, but they did make it all the way through to the final round.
Yeah.
They came in strong and they did make it to the very end.
That's an interesting thing that people don't necessarily want chocolate in their bars. Like chocolate and cookies is that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. But I guess chocolate in bars is different.
I don't know.
I must have been napping the day this poll happened because I am definitely someone who likes chocolate in my bars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, we had chocolate representation throughout, but people were feeling fruity, I guess. I don't know. The final round was the second closest of all of the rounds. The only one that was a closer contest was that Special K jam upset that we had. Yeah. That said, it was still very clear that lemon bars won. The lemon bars won with 60% of the votes in the final round.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I am actually really happy about this because I gotta say, lemon bars, I can to this day remember the first time I had a lemon bar. And I was about, how old was I? I was probably 11.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And it was in a Lutheran church basement for fellowship hour after church.
Of course.
And I was a very picky kid. So I kind of went out on a limb and tried this thing mostly because it was coated in powdered sugar. And I was in love. I was like, not only is this a delicious dessert, but if this is what I can expect from Lutheran Church Fellowship going forward, sign me up. And I don't think I ever looked back. So the lemon bar was very formative for me. Like I remember the first lemon bar and it was in a Lutheran church basement. So this is a well-deserved win. Lemon bars.
It really is.
You got to hand it to you. Well done.
I think this is my favorite bar from childhood also, but I don't know if this came first or lemon yogurt came first, but I absolutely loved anything lemon dessert when I was a kid. Like that the combination of the acidic sour with the sweet is just is perfect. That translates well to the only dessert bar that I can make now because it's the same like tangy sweet going on. But yeah. Oh, lemon bars are just so good. And like the texture is just like melts in your mouth. Oh, it's got everything. And they
really
look
does.
pretty. Like they're just happy color.
And I feel they're good all year round.
Yeah.
You know, they aren't a seasonal bar. Like certain things you might feel like would be better in the summer or in the winter. I don't think I would
serve a strawberry pretzel bar at Christmas time.
Exactly.
But I could serve a lemon bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of bars, I believe each of you have a bar that you want to discuss a little more specifically with a recipe. Maybe in the case of this was actually another, there were thoughts expressed on the topic of some of the bars. It was not clear to everyone which bar it was, and there was a wish that there had perhaps been a standard recipe that we were considering. But that was not the type of tournament that I was able to facilitate. So it was more of a free-for-all. There could be many recipes represented. I did encourage people to share a recipe, especially if it was a lesser-known bar. Share a recipe to give people inspiration of what they would be experiencing with this bar.
Yeah.
So do either of you have a recipe that you would like to be able to discuss today on the topic of bars?
Yeah, so I, much to my chagrin, the whole like jam shortbread versus Special K was like existential crisis for me.
Oh, you're right.
Because I love Special K bars and I think I would have voted for them all the way to the end. But the only bar that I can make in my life right now is essentially jam shortbread.
It had to get your vote. It had to.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotion happening in that poll, guys. But I was very happy that this was an Iron Ladle that I could like unequivocally just participate in because I have something ready to go. It's the same recipe that I do every time.
It's a new format, I feel.
It is a new format.
Yeah.
So I have almond cranberry jam bars that sound very fancy and they look just beautiful. The color of this cranberry sauce
pretty
is absolutely gorgeous. So, okay, this is my typical almond flour cookie recipe that I just packed into a I don't even know what size it was. It's a Pyrex that my friends gifted us with blueberries about 3 months ago, and I haven't given it back to them, but it was the perfect size for this. So that worked out. So it's 2 cups of almond flour. The blanched, like super fine blanched works the best for this because it's got to soak in all the stuff. And if you can use a slightly chunkier one, but the texture is a lot different and I don't like it as much. So super fine blanched, 2 cups of almond flour, 4 tablespoons of olive oil, 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, and then a pinch of salt, whatever that really means. It varies depending on what salt you use and how salty you actually want it. So that's completely to taste. And the olive oil that you use will change the flavor a lot. If you use a mild olive oil, it's a much milder flavor bar. I happen to really like the flavor of the olive oil in the bar because it gives us a little extra tang. So I actually use stronger flavored olive oil on purpose. So mix that all together. Oil a pan. You can butter it, but I can't eat butter. So I oiled the Pyrex. Smush it all in there, pack it down really good. And then I have a convection oven, so it's going to be different. But in my convection oven, it was 375 for 25 minutes. But basically, you want the outer edge to be golden and the middle to not be soft anymore. And that's tricky. this recipe doesn't translate super well to bars. I've used it before and the middle always gets really hard the edges always get hard and the middle stays too soft. This size of pan is smaller though than I've used in the past. And I think it actually works really well because the edges are crunchy, but the middle was done. So that was great. Now, this was the fun part. I forgot that we were recording today. I thought it was tomorrow until like 8:30 this morning, and I was almost on my way out the door, and I checked my calendar, and I went, we're recording today. Oh, no. So I stayed at home for an extra hour and a half and did my work.
Dedication.
So, and then I was biking to work, so I had to figure out how to get this pan of bars into my backpack.
What did you do? Put them on your head?
So I made it a little bit differently than I would otherwise probably make it if I were bringing it to a potluck. But what I did this time was just make the bars, and then I had cranberry sauce already made up. And I just kept them separate, and I brought it to work, and we just put the bars on a plate and put cranberry sauce on top of them, and it works that way.
Okay.
I will say, pro tip, because I've done this before, if you do it this way, you don't want to put the cranberry sauce on top unbaked and just leave it there. It will soak in and it gets weird. So if you're gonna do just like plain cranberry sauce, it's best to let people serve it themselves on top. It just works better that way. The way that I would probably do it is to actually put the cranberry sauce on and then bake it with the sauce on top for like the last 10 minutes or so it solidifies. I think that would work well. I haven't done it yet, so that's a way to do it. The other thing that I want to try is to make the cranberry sauce fresh while I'm making the bars and mix in gelatin and put that on top so it's actually solid on top. I haven't done it that way yet, but I want to try it now. So, and I mean, this is the way I have to do it because cranberries are basically the only like jam sauce thing I can really have. And I make my own cranberry sauce. So I have a bag of cranberries, a 3/4 cup water, 2/3 of a cup of maple syrup. I use my cranberries from frozen typically. And so it works really well. They don't audibly pop though when you cook them from frozen. So I take a potato masher. When they start to like separate, I just mash them up with my potato masher and it turns out beautifully. So that's my bar. It's really good. I was serving it to people in the office before I came up here and they were all really happy about it. So that was fun. And it looks pretty and it tastes delicious.
Yes.
So yeah.
Exactly what a bar should be.
Yeah. And it survived in my backpack on my bike.
That's the part I'm amazed about. You must be a very smooth biker. I don't think I could make that work.
It was a morning. It was a whole thing.
Awesome. Now, Sarah, I know that you've talked before, but in particular, things that we'd want to call out for this or catch people's ear if they haven't already thought of this is that part of what makes this recipe great is obviously it's gluten-free. It's low in sugar.
Yes. It's basically allergen friendly, except if you're allergic to almonds. That's the only thing. But other than that, it's if you're allergic to almonds or you're keto, because I don't think it would pass the keto test. But it's very clean, allergen friendly for the most part.
Dairy-free.
Dairy-free, gluten-free, grain-free.
Yeah.
Vegan.
Vegan. Yeah. Yes, it is vegan. Yep.
So if you have tree nuts, sorry.
Yeah.
But everybody else, enjoy.
And it is a pretty low sugar. Like it tastes really good, but there's really not a ton of sweet. It's not like overly sweet. Not like Special K bars. Those are like sugar bombs.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. That is, they look so good. I wish I was there with you.
It's really yummy.
So Rachel, what about you?
Okay, so I'm a one-trick pony when it comes to bars. Like I've made a couple of lemon bars like from kits before, but I've never made lemon bars from scratch. But I have one recipe that I've had in my recipe book for, I would say probably 14, 15 years. And I pull it out every once in a while. It got there, I think, I can't remember exactly when but I suspect it was when I was pregnant with my third child. Because I had a really strong craving, and that suggests that it was a pregnancy thing. I had a strong craving for some chocolate chip peanut butter cookies, which I make fairly regularly.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't have the right ingredients to make the cookies.
Okay.
Or I didn't have the right quantities. Now you'll say, why didn't you just cut your regular cookie recipe in half? Well, this is another clue that this was a pregnancy thing, because pregnant brain, one would not think something logical like, why don't I just cut my recipe in half?
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I got on Google and said, I don't want to go shopping. Here are the ingredients I have in the house. What can I make that's good?
Excellent.
And I got this all recipes recipe for peanut butter fingers. Your basic peanut butter bar.
Okay.
But it just exactly fit the ingredients I happened to have in my kitchen that day. And I made a pan of them up, and they were so good that I wrote the recipe down off the internet. I didn't print it. I wrote it.
Mhm.
And I stuck it in my recipe album. And at the bottom, it has the word yum underlined. So it was a hit. And it's a really simple recipe. It's great if you want like a chocolate chip cookie experience, but you don't want to be pulling cookie sheets in and out of the oven for the better part of an hour, like one pan in, one pan out. And it's a similar flavor profile to those Special K Scotcheroo bars or to the Nanaimo bars, it sounds like. But they're just quick and easy, and I love them. To make the peanut butter fingers, you just cream together half cup butter, half cup white sugar, half cup packed brown sugar, beat in 1 egg, a third of a cup peanut butter. Maybe I add a little extra peanut butter.
As you should.
Half teaspoon vanilla, then flour, a cup of flour, half a teaspoon of soda, 1/4 teaspoon salt. I mean, this is basically my cookie recipe cut in half. Why I thought I needed a new recipe, I don't know.
That's amazing.
And then at the end, mix in 1 cup rolled oats, put in a grease 9x13, and bake at 325 for 20 minutes.
Okay.
So that's the bar. And then as soon as they come out of the oven, you're going to take a cup of chocolate chips, or maybe more if you're me, a rounded cup of chocolate chips, and you're going to sprinkle them all over the hot bars. So instead of melting your chocolate separately, you just put the chocolate chips all over the bars, let them sit for like 5 minutes, and then trust me on this, don't use a wooden spoon, take a metal tablespoon and sort of just using the back of it, smear the chocolate into a layer of semi-sweet chocolate on the top. So easy. And then you got to wait then for the chocolate to cool. But then just cut and serve. And I cut them in sort of rectangles to make them look like, I just dropped it, make them look like very pudgy fingers. I mean, let's face it, nobody wants to just have the skinniest bar in the pan.
It's true.
So some very pudgy rectangles there. But that is my bar. I'm very glad you had this challenge, because now I'm feeling like I need to branch out and learn some new bars, because they really are. They're so practical. They're quick. They're easy. They're special. They feed a crowd. They are, most of them, finger food, so you don't have to worry about digging up plastic fork. And by and large, people just love them. Now, mine, of course, is not allergy friendly.
It's got all the allergy in it.
Apologies to anyone who has issues with peanuts or dairy or gluten or trying to go vegan, or definitely not keto. Like, there's nothing really friendly. If you're allergic to almonds, you can probably eat these bars. As long as you double check the chocolate chips were not processed in a facility that uses almonds. So not healthy, not friendly. They sure are good. And as soon as they came out of the oven and started to cool, all my family were like, can I try a bar? And I said, sure. Because they're bars. They're meant to be shared. They're not a food. Yes, technically I could. And maybe that first time I did eat the whole pan myself. But they're not meant to be eaten all by yourself. They're meant to be passed around and shared. And that is, I think, what makes this such a brilliant recipe challenge. Because you just got to share them.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first, I think the first recipe challenge where I have not, I believe the first one where I've not actually cooked the recipe. I haven't baked the recipe. I didn't bake anything. I am getting ready today. I'm not working. I'm at home. I have the day off because I'm packing and cleaning, because tomorrow I head to Taiwan for a trip. And I'm like, I just can't. It's not going to fit the timeline of where my life is right now. But I have a recipe to talk about with you all.
Yes.
And so I have one of our group members, Haley Hazen.
Haley!
She sent me a photograph of her grandma Abeling's lemon bar recipe.
Yes.
It is handwritten on a recipe card in the classic style that has in the corner of the bottom, it has like a little Bible verse.
Oh, wow.
It says, "Give thanks in everything, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." Just what you want to see on a recipe. It is delightful. It's handwritten. And at first, when I read this recipe, this looks like a truly classic lemon bar recipe out there. There's a lot of them out there. There's some variation, but there are a whole lot that are essentially the same thing. And this is a true classic lemon bar recipe, which is why I wanted to share it. The recipe also says lemon bars, a 4-star recipe. Now, I am sort of curious, how many stars are in her system? Is this a 5-star system? Are there better, or is 4 stars the highest? I don't know. These are the things we could ask Grandma Abeling. But she still makes these bars and brings them, Haley says, and everyone still loves them. This recipe calls for you to preheat your oven to 350. The very first ingredient, when I first read it, you'll have to look at the image. We'll share the image in the show notes. The recipe, it looks like it says, I thought it said 2 cups of love. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. It turns out, no, that's actually just fancy handwriting. And it says 2 cups flour. Not
That's amazing.
So 2 cups flour, 2 cups sugar, 1 cup butter, mix together and press into a 9x13 pan. Bake at 350 for 15 minutes. Then, so that's your crust. Then you're going to mix 2 cups of sugar. There's a lot of sugar in this recipe. 4 eggs, a 1/4 cup of flour, 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. You're going to mix all of that and pour on top of your baked crust and bake it again for another 15 minutes. Okay. So that's it. That's easy.
I could do that.
I know.
So
it's a true classic. It's essentially a lemon curd.
Yeah.
But
you don't pre-make it.
No.
Every time I make lemon curd on the stove, I mess up. But this seems like an idiot-proof way to make your lemon curd.
Grandma Abeling, I think she will not steer you wrong. Now, she also has a note on here, which is after my own heart. I feel like my grandmother has also had these recipes notes on her recipes. It says, be sure to use butter, not margarine.
Yes.
So, yes. Excellent advice. Always good baking advice. So, a true classic bar, a lemon bar. There are definitely other variations. There were a number of recipes shared in the group. If you have an excellent lemon bar recipe that is, you're like, oh no, this one is special. It's unique. Or maybe it's just no fail. You're like, I've tried the other lemon bars. They always, somehow something goes wrong. If you have a no fail lemon bar recipe, we'd love to hear about it. Please share your lemon bar recipes. Honestly, if you have a 7-layer bar recipe, if you have a strawberry pretzel dessert recipe, share
if
you
have
those
a
recipes.
Strawberry pretzel salad recipe.
Yeah. Definitely. We would love to have any of the recipes. Give us your inspiration. Let other people see them and consider how they might spice up what they're going to bring to the next potluck or family get together or, neighborhood gathering. It's getting to be nice outside again, but not too cold yet. And so for me, I'm like, oh, this is a great time to go and hang out around a fire pit or something. Bring a bar. That's a great thing to bring to a little bonfire party as a bar. So,
Oh, now I want to make a s'mores bar.
oh,
I like a
I'm
thing.
sure that's a thing.
Oh, I'm
I
sure
am
it
not.
is.
sure that's a thing. That sounds great.
It's gotta be a thing.
Googling furiously.
I know, right? Must look this up right now.
Oh yeah, pages and pages of recipes.
Oh, yes.
They have a s'mores 7-layer bar.
Look at that.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
yes, your next bonfire.
It's beautiful.
So I thoroughly enjoyed this big contest of the best of the bars, and I feel that it was an honest contest. I think the right bar won.
Yes.
And yeah.
Thank you for setting this up, Erin. This was so fun. Like when you said I want to do bars, first I was like, bars? Like 3 Lutheran ladies walk into a bar?
Huh?
But then when you explained it, I was like, oh yeah, these are the unsung heroes of the dessert table.
Yes.
And we definitely need to give them some love. And then you went
Yeah.
about it in a big way with your maximum science and your
Yeah.
carefully, we'll call it bar diplomacy between
Bar
all the people with
diplomacy.
the strongly worded
Yes.
opinions. But we came out with a really fun contest. And I think, yeah, those lemon bars and 7-layer bars are justly at the top of the list because
Yeah.
they're delicious and amazing. And I need to actually learn how to make them.
Well, there are plenty of recipes in all of the posts for the bar contest playoffs. And also, yes, please, in the comments on this episode in the Facebook group or anywhere else you find it, we post it in a few places. Share your recipes. We want to see them because everyone needs a new bar recipe in their life. You can join us in our Facebook group where you can see this episode and all of the rest of our episodes and all of the recipes and funny videos, etc. In our Facebook group, the Lutheran Ladies Lounge, you can also follow us on Instagram. We share a lot more photos there and more discussion, prompts, and all kinds of fun stuff there too. So join us on our Instagram page at Lutheran Ladies Lounge. You can also sign up for our e-newsletter. Send us an email, lutheranladies@kfuo.org, or you can find out how to do that in the show notes for this episode. Find all of our episodes at kfuo.org/Lutheran Ladies Lounge, or on your favorite podcasting app, or on the KFUO radio app. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
And I am chock full of peanut butter bars right now. Thank
I've
you.
eaten so many of these bars in the
Thank
last
you.
hour. It's really bad.
Erin, you get credit for the 5 pounds I've gained today.
I'm not even ashamed.
Views and opinions expressed on the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast may not represent the official position of the management or ownership of KFUO Radio, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Lutheran Ladies Lounge is produced by KFUO Radio and available at kfuo.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a review for us too. If you love the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast, consider financially supporting our producer, KFUO Radio, so we can keep doing what we do. Find out how at kfuo.org/give.